the internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
This is CVM News at noon for Wednesday, June 4, 2025. I'm Curlin Brown. Thanks so much for joining us. One of the key battlegrounds in the upcoming general election, whenever called, will be St. James West Central, a seat held by Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs Marlene Malahoo Fort. Well, the two-term Member of Parliament stopped by Lead Story Prime to reflect on her path so far and to outline her bid for a third term.
And when I was asked to run St. James West Central, I was told that I had the profile to relate to the seat across all demographic groups. I've spent a lot of time getting to understand the seat and also getting to understand politics, how we practice politics and how politics in turn impact the quality of governance. And I feel that among my peers, I have a very deep understanding of government. Come August 1, I will enter my 30th year in government. And I am the only member in the executive who has worked across all branches of government.
Jamaica has seen a significant decline in crime. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has reported a 43% reduction in murders, the lowest in 34 years. In response, political commentator Roger Bend commended the government for its efforts to curtail the crime and violence, noting during a CVM Live lead discussion, the administration should take credit for the reduction.
I believe that a change in behavior is not something that is overnight. It's not something that happens within a year. It may have very well been the contribution of successive administrations that may actually have culminated in this moment. But that said, we also have to give credit to the fact that the current ruling party, the JLP, would have, for the most part, put in a significant amount of investment. And they would have also taken the brunt of criticism several times. They've been, mocked as it relates to the fact that promises were made about you could go to bed with your doors and your windows open, and that is not happening. So against that backdrop, to have seen such a significant reduction in crime at this point, I think, yes, they will get that kind of credit. The government will get that kind of credit, and it should take the credit.
There's an ongoing appeal for citizens to assist the police with any information they have in relation to a major contraband seizure in Westmoreland. The persons are also being sought for the illegal trade of exotic animals. High tides in Westmoreland up to late Tuesday create a lull along the fishing village, an extra period of calm and somewhat reduced activity. Unlike the rush of government boats that swarmed the Camp Hope and Sanson beaches hours before on Monday. Dave, a fisherman of over 30 years, says he encountered the law enforcers.
I'm yesterday morning and the police come on and them kick off my door and come in and ask me, say, who am I inside my place? I'm telling them I'm alone. So, them said to me, say, all right, go on back on your bed. So I go back on my bed and after I go back on my bed, I go back to sleep. So I get up and come out in the morning and I leave. So I don't know much going on when I come back. Because I say all I do them kick off again and they go down and dig up and gunshot and rare, but I don't really down here, them find that as far as I understand.
However, as far as we understand, this boat is a standout for an intelligence-driven operation by the Counter-Terrorism and Organized Crime Investigation Branch (CTOC) of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the JCF. According to the force's official report, at about 5 o'clock Monday morning, when the team conducted investigations at both Camp Hope and Sansan beaches, 2 men were observed removing items from the shoreline. The men, however, fled upon seeing the team, leaving behind 2 knitted bags. Inside the bags, more than 3,900 rounds of ammunition. The police say this seizure again represents a blow to the operation of criminals. They also confiscated 2 makeshift cages containing 10 live and 9 dead exotic parrots, as well as 2 squirrels, tools, and more than 20 packs of uncustomed cigarettes. Only recently, the red flag was raised against the illegal trade in exotic animals, which is a clear and present danger to public safety, national security, and environmental well-being. The JCF says it continues to pursue those who are engaged in the act. The animals were handed over to the National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA. They were, however, euthanized or taken out humanely, considering they are not native to Jamaica. Meanwhile, the joint team was back at the locations on Tuesday, combing the area, still searching for the 2 men who remain at large.
Traffic we're a little bit, yes, but through the breeze is on and now we can't get to go and see and so forth. So we have to stay at home.
There's a positive shift for Jamaica's tourism sector as the United States lowers its travel advisory for the island from level 3 to level 2. President of the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, Robin Russell, has welcomed the move, calling it a boost for the local industry. He says the updated advisory opens the door for increased bookings, especially for larger international groups.
Well, the biggest thing with a level 2 is that it gives us more access to big groups. So, big groups where they buy out a large hotel, 1,000 rooms, 500 rooms. We now have access to that market because before there were limitations on which groups would come to Jamaica. So there's a great potential for growth. Unfortunately, you're not going to see that growth immediately, as groups will book a year in advance, 18 months in advance, but it gives us the opportunity to grow.
Do stay with us for lots more to come here on our news desk. We'll be right back.
Every day starts with care. Care that's always close. Supermed Family of Pharmacies is where you go for everything you need. From your morning routine to life's biggest moments. Supermed Family of Pharmacies is always by your side. Whether it's prescriptions or household essentials, trust the care that's close to home. Super happy, super healthy, Supermed.
Jamaica Relay for Life is back. Join the Jamaica Cancer Society on Saturday, June 7 at the Police Officers Club in Kingston. And let's walk, dance, and celebrate life together. From 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., we're honoring survivors, remembering loved ones, and standing strong in the fight against cancer. We'll have lots of prizes and surprises for the best teams. So, form a team, purchase Luminaria bags, and let's relay for life. To register your team, visit www.jcs.live or call 876-927-3317. Brought to you by the Jamaica Cancer Society. Walking together with hope.
From politics to global events, from social issues to breaking news, Lead Story Prime dives deeper, cuts through the noise, and uncovers the stories that shape your world. Join us every Tuesday at 8 p.m. for Lead Story Prime with me, George Davis, for an hour of incisive analysis, expert interviews, and unparalleled coverage of the issues you care about. Lead Story Prime, your front row seat to the most compelling discussions. Lead Story Prime, where the truth comes first. Only on CVM TV.
Come and tell me what is bothering you, Krishna. Come on.
If Mummy wins tomorrow's competition, then she will leave and take me away.
I won't allow that.
So the court gives the order that from today, Krishna's legal guardian will be her father, Mr. Sagar Chaturvedi.
I don't want to hear Ganga's name again as long as I live.
Ganga.
Brought to you by
Hyundai or Hyundai.
Welcome back. Thanks so much for staying with us. Now, only recently the authorities made a historic discovery of guns and ammunition at a corporate area warehouse destined for criminal hands and the streets of Jamaica. The harrowing find has led one expert to believe there will be need for stricter laws for persons involved in the mass importation of guns given Jamaica's crime history. More from Nika Lewis.
Over 220 A-grade firearms and more than 50,000 rounds of ammunition were recently seized at a location in the corporate area. And although no arrests have yet been made, the investigations will hopefully yield some penalties for those involved. Criminologist Dr. Jason Mackay, in commending law enforcement on the historic find, says these are radical times requiring radical penalties.
So a find like this with 220 guns, tens and tens of thousands of ammunition, you've way crossed the bar of a single victim or single victims. You're looking on what could damage a society on a whole. Now, our biggest threat in this particular society is the gun issue. The guns are the ones killing the people. So when persons are importing them in mass, you go beyond looking on life imprisonment and 25 years. Now you have to find a way that the people will stop doing it. And the only way you're going to get that is when you have a state-sanctioned, systematic execution of persons involved in that type of activity. That alone is going to stop it from happening. Nothing else.
He notes, had those weapons made their way onto the streets, much of the gains made in crime fighting since 2024 would be at risk with increased bloodshed.
If it really continues like this, it's going to have such a dramatic impact on the country where they're being armed at this rate, where guns are being sold at this rate, that you may reach to a point where they can challenge the government for control.
Dr. Mackay says while those involved in this seizure may not be slapped with the measures he's proposing, he's of the view others may attempt.
More guns than the parish of St. Catherine recovered last year in totality, and that is one of the most successful gun recovery parishes in the country last year. I mean, to put it in perspective, St. Thomas recovered 4 guns last year in the entire parish. You introduced 220. An even greater way to think of it, 220 guns being introduced into the streets of London could change the very culture of crime in London.
Firebrand attorney and PNP candidate for Eastern Portland, Isaac Buchanan, calls out the government of Jamaica for what he describes as dangerous silence on the long-delayed Sexual Offences Act. He also says Prime Minister Holness has until the end of July to hold the general election.
Speaking to a passionate crowd of comrades and supporters at a PNP conference in Belfield, Manchester, attorney-at-law and PNP candidate for Eastern Portland, Isaac Buchanan, pulled no punches, accusing legislators of stalling on vital discussions on sexual offences and child protection. Buchanan's comments come amid growing concern over rising incidents of child abuse and delayed legislative reforms. He says as citizens, we must protect our children.
We have a duty to protect our children. And the only way we can do that is to reject any form of corrupt and cover-up of the Sexual Offences Registry. There is a government, and this government wants to keep that registry private in the face of so many children being hurt.
Since the start of 2023, over 3,000 instances of sexual offences against more than 2,000 children were reported to the police. The PNP representative believes that if the sexual offenders list remains undisclosed, it will be a detriment to society's most vulnerable. He also says everyone should be protected, not just children.
We must protect every single life in Jamaica. The right to life is important. The right to freedom of expression is important. But I want you to know, more than anything, human dignity is important. So even when you don't have money in your pocket, you are still a human being and a citizen of this country. You must be treated with the respect, because your mother born you, your father born you are a Jamaican.
Buchanan is arguing that the outcomes of the general election, whenever it is called, will determine which government reforms the Constitution.
This election is one that will determine which government will rewrite the Constitution, will make the Constitution for us, by us.
He also says Prime Minister Holness has limited time to hold the general election.
You see that number 28? Check your calendar. July 28 is the Prime Minister's last chance to hold the election. Not call it, hold it. Because you see the God I serve, when the rain start fall, the sparks are go ball. A time come for vote out the Jamaica Labour Party.
Angela Melville, CVM News.
More news at noon after this.
The Time is brought to you by Ford Territory.
In a world where innovation meets tradition, agriculture is evolving like never before. From the latest sustainable farming technologies to age-old practices passed down through generation, agriculture is
precious to me.
I love the animals. I don't mind getting my hands dirty. I love working.
Join us right here on CVM TV every Sunday during news at 7 as we explore the people, the science, and the breakthroughs that are shaping the way we grow, eat, and live. You don't want to miss it. This is Farming Forward.
Welcome you back with a question. Are you aware coral reefs are the most important ecosystem within the ocean and they provide coastal protection for all of Jamaica? Well, according to Managing Director, Coral Specialist of Reef Construction Limited, Jonathan Hernold, without the coral reef, the entire marine ecosystem would collapse. And as a result, Jamaicans should aid in its preservation.
Coral reefs are the main defense against storm surges, and they're there for coastal protection. So when we don't have a strong, healthy coral reef, we don't have beaches, and we have lots of examples around Jamaica to prove that. Yeah. Without them, life in Jamaica would be completely different. We wouldn't live the way we do. Our tourism industry would completely collapse without our reef ecosystem. And there's many ways that, Jamaicans as individuals can give back. There's lots of volunteer opportunities. We have over 20 fish sanctuaries in Jamaica, like the White River Marine Sanctuary, where they're always looking for volunteer opportunities.
And just listen to the international news now. A massive bloom of sargassum seaweed is wreaking havoc across the Caribbean, with a record-breaking 38 million metric tons smothering shorelines over the past month. The unprecedented influx is damaging tourism, harming wildlife, and even releasing toxic gases that forced the closure of a school in Martinique. Here's more from Al Jazeera.
About 38 million metric tons of the sargassum seaweed, a brown, prickly algae, has been smothering Caribbean shorelines over the last month. That's 16 million tons more than the previous record amount. It's been damaging tourism, killing wildlife, and even releasing toxic gases that forced a school on the French Caribbean island of Martinique to close briefly. Jose Rodriguez is a Puerto Rican fisherman. He says business has been hit hard.
El sargazo es algo.
The sargassum is a very bad thing for fishermen. You can't fish properly because everything comes out full of sargassum, which is very strong. The sargassum reaches the shores. Throwing the nets also doesn't work. The fishermen that fish with nets get full of sargassum, and this is a problem because the fish leave the area.